What's the story with?
Whiskey comes from a very unsweet source. They have sugar in them because you need sugar for the yeast to apply to the sugar and become alcohol. But when you have silver tequila, which is additive free and pure like ours, there is sweetness in it, and that's why you can have silver.
It's being sold as the most healthy drink. It's sold as
That is
the
true. That
healthiest
part
drink.
is true if it's pure. It has up to 70% cane sugar. You're basically paying for rum. It's your friends take you, they sit you down and say, let's do a Kahlua shot or let's do a Jaeger shot. And they're like, woo! Every government of every country knows where every drop of alcohol is at any given time. Alcohol drinking is seeing a bad, and we're calling it actually the Californication of alcohol, which is people are moving to other substances.
If tequila were a movie character.
It's Amitabh Bachchan, the angry young man.
Welcome to What's the Story with Tequila, the show where we decode the trends that shape our life, our love, our laughter, and occasionally how we drink.
Occasionally? I don't think it's occasionally. Today we're pouring one out for a drink that had the ultimate glow up. From bad decisions to boardrooms, from body shots to bar cards.
Exactly. When did tequila become the calm in the face of the chaos? Or when did it go from salt and lime shots to slow and quiet luxury? To help us unpack this information and this transformation, we have with us Karan Khanna, the founder of El Cristiano, which is one of the cleanest and most premium tequilas in the market today. Welcome to What's the Story with Tequila. When did tequila become the calm instead of the chaos? So when did it go from salt and lime shots to this slow, quiet, snobbish luxury almost?
I think, to be honest with you, I saw the conversion of what you're calling, the shots, what we all have memories of, doing the lime and the shots and then losing our mind for like 3 minutes because it had so much acidity in it and such bad flavor. It started becoming sipping tequila right around 2010 to 2014. It all happened here in Southern California. I remember my first taste was the Patron Burdeos, which is basically Patron aged in Bordeaux casks. And it's a very beautiful bottle. And my first sip was with a friend in Orange County, Newport Beach. And I was like, wow, that tequila can taste this good. And it really just happened around that time when a lot of other tequila makers, and actually I also discovered a lot of tequila that was already out there, but they were all in the, I want to say, $350 to $550 range. I don't think the accessible sipping tequila was available back then. So you had Herradura Suprema Selección, you have Jose Cuervo, de la Familia, Reserva de la Familia, that's a little bit cheaper. We drank Tres Cuatro Cinco, like all these amazing tequilas that were $300 and above, and they were just amazing to sip. And I think they started the trend and, differentiated at the higher levels. Then I think tequila makers started making better reposados and better silvers. And now we literally in 15 years, we're at the helm of everyone wanting to drink fine tequila.
The fact that you're so deeply entrenched in the tequila industry is obviously it's your life and your work, etc. So you roll off these phrases off your tongue.
I know.
Like it's, मैं market जा रहा हूँ, मैं दाल सब्जी लेकर आ रहा हूँ. But we will dissect each of these. But first, let's rewind to the tharra that you used to drink when tequila was that tequila. So tell us about those memories of your first tequila experience, and I'm sure it's as blurry, as pukey, and probably as regret-filled.
So for the bad memories, I'll quote a very famous car maker who says, "Roads not traveled are avenues not explored." So I think that you have to drink to find out where you end up.
And we have.
And we all have. I don't know. I've, alcohol is a recent industry as a producer for me. I only started this in 2020, so just 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And all my interaction with alcohol has been purely from a passion standpoint. So I was lucky enough to actually have my first real sip of alcohol in Napa Valley with my brother. I was 21 years old. It was December of 1997. And I had a bottle of Paul Hobbs Pinot Noir at the Culinary Institute of America in Napa. And I think that kind of set off this passion, food. And I was always, as in Punjabi, always passionate about food. Yes, but then I really fell in love with lots and lots of good, bad wine, then decent wine. I've traveled all over the world drinking wine, whiskeys, and now recently tequila.
Did you ever think as a child कि मैं बड़े होके शराब बनाऊंगा? Over the child.
My dad has had less to drink in his life than I will have tonight. Let's put it that way.
No way.
Yeah, we came from a very on my dad's side nobody drank alcohol. So yeah, absolutely not. It was the worst time actually on the planet to get into the alcohol business. It's the highest regulated. It's the most regulated industry. Like every government of every country knows where every drop of alcohol is at any given time.
So let's start with what is tequila? What is tequila?
I actually am very, very happy that you're doing this and even asking me, because I may be one of the very few people who can break it down in a consumer standpoint. Because a lot of people, when you ask them these questions, they start speaking so much from a industry lingo that a normal person, or they may even go over things that they may think that you already know. So I'll jump right into it. So tequila is kind of like the champagne of sparkling wines, right? So sparkling wine can be made anywhere, but champagne can only come from the region of Champagne in France. So tequila has to be made in the region of tequila in a state called Jalisco. Jalisco is in the middle. The state capital is Guadalajara. It's the second largest city in Mexico. And Jalisco has designated 5 areas where tequila can come from. So, and there are over 200 types of agave, which is a succulent and not a cactus. So the succulent, it grows kind of like a pineapple, but inside the ground. And it takes minimum of 5 years for the blue Weber agave to mature. So if you plant it today, and you will be expected to harvest it in 2030 or 31, 5 to 6 years. And that's when it becomes properly ripe. So blue Weber agave from the designated regions, let's call it the tequila region. There's a town called Tequila, northwest of Guadalajara. And that entire region is called tequila. And if blue Weber agave distilled and made and bottled in that region, can it be called tequila. Pretty much for all other intents and purposes, it's mezcal. So any agave-based spirit from Mexico would be considered mezcal. And any agave-based spirit from the rest of the world can only be called agave spirit. So for example, there's tequilas that are being made in India and some other places, and in Texas, they cannot be called either mezcal or tequila. So mezcal is the overall category. If you take away, so tequila is a super focused category of mezcal.
So is it like a scotch and a single malt sort of? Is it blended or it?
Cognac and brandy. Brandy could be any grape-based distilled alcohol, but if the brandy comes from cognac, then it can be called cognac.
Okay. So that's.
And in fact, it's the exact same recipe. So brandy, cognac, grappa, and tequila share the same recipe, which is you take an extremely sweet juice from an extremely sweet source, so wine in that case, and agave in our case, and then you extract the juice, you apply yeast to it, you ferment it, and now you've got basically wine. And then you heat it up, and the alcohol evaporates first, and that's where the circular distillation comes in. It cools down into alcohol, pure alcohol. You do it twice. So twice distilled becomes tequila. And that's what happens with brandy and cognac, and then you age it. So what you were asking about, it's not single malt and blended, but it matches whiskey in how you age it. So when you age whiskey, because whiskey comes from a very unsweet source, right? So whiskey, gin, and vodka are called grain spirits. So they come from malt, barley, wheat, in some cases, corn, and they have sugar in them because you need sugar for the yeast to apply to the sugar and become alcohol, but they're not sweet. And that's why it takes a minimum of 12 years of whiskey to become palatable. right? Because if you drink unaged whiskey, it's going to be absolute taste like
Yeah.
garbage because there's no sweetness to it. But when you have silver tequila, which is additive free and pure like ours, there is sweetness in it, and that's why you can have silver. And so the way to think about it is that when silver, you age it in American whiskey casks. So in our case, Tennessee whiskey, and reposado. So you know how in whiskey you have 12 years, 15, 18, 21, 25, let's say. So here you have silver, unaged. So it's basically just pure white silver tequila.
Okay.
And this is unaged. So after it is double distilled, you let it sit in a tank. It becomes just like Malai rises to the top. It becomes heads, tails, and body. The body is the sweetest part. So the rest of the industry basically takes the all of it and packages it, and that's where you're getting the fumes, and that's where you're getting the acidity from. So we throw away the heads where the higher tannins are, and we throw away the tails where the lack of structure is, and we only bottle the body. So we end up
Middle.
using more material to make one bottle of tequila. So silver tequila is unaged, goes straight from silver barrel, silver large tanks into bottles. Anything from 2 months to 12 months is reposado. Reposado simply means rested in Spanish. 100 years ago, the great grandparents in Mexico, they made a lot of silver, didn't know what to do, put it in whiskey barrels, gets a little bit of color. And
Okay.
then after that, you get, a little more color. This is añejo, which is 12 months to 36 months exactly by law. So
Okay.
12 months to 36 months, añejo. Añejo simply means aged. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and extra añejo means extra aged.
Aged.
And
So
blanco.
anything 36 months and higher, which is 3 years exactly, 3 years and higher, becomes this color. So you can see the color difference
Yeah. Slightly
between
yellow.
extra añejo and añejo.
The darker, the older. Is that some?
Yes.
I mean, pretty much.
Yes, the darker the older because it's getting the color from the barrels. It's getting the color and the sweetness. So basically, what you're doing is you're taking silver tequila and you're putting it in American whiskey barrels. 99% of tequila is aged in American whiskey barrels, whether from Kentucky, which is bourbon, or Tennessee whiskey, which is what we use, which is what Jack Daniels is, for example. So half our barrels are from Jack Daniels. And it picks up notes of, caramel, vanilla, ripe banana, maple, and there's this long finish and becomes softer, just like wine becomes softer when you age it.
Right.
Tequila becomes softer as you age it.
And what is blanco?
Blanco basically is unaged.
As is. This is silver. Silver is blanco.
Silver is blanco. So we call it silver, people call it blanco. It's just unaged. Blanco means white. Blanco means white in Spanish.
So tequila to समझा दिया.
Ab,
Now El Cristiano समझा.
tell us about your brand.
Yours.
Very good. So for that, I will go back to the agave. Okay. So just like when our moms used to go to the market to buy their fruit and vegetables, right? They would check every bhindi, tick tick, it's perfect or not, or pineapple, haath laga ke, is it softish,
Right.
yellowish, brown? Even watermelon, pick it up, shake it, and smell it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So what were they looking for? They were looking for a perfectly ripe, ready to cook or serve fruit and vegetable, right?
Yeah.
So based on the knowledge and who my partners are in Mexico, we have both come to this conclusion, and they were already doing this when I met them, that we should only make tequila from the best agave. Now, what does best agave mean? So in our case, it means at least 5.5 years in the ground and at least 50 kilograms in weight. So what that means is that when we are picking our agave, they are perfectly ripe and the juice is perfectly ready to go. So this is, and other people are cutting it at 3 years. So can you see how green that fruit is?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And how much leaf there is on it, right? So that leaf is where the bitterness is. It's the equivalent of putting the whole bhindi with the stem in your sabji. That's where most tequila, when you first smell it, has the gasoline smell, strong tannins, and you put it in your mouth and it burns, and then it burns. High acidity, low in sweetness. Now I'm going to compare this, and this you're going to see a friend here sitting on I don't know if I can get the right color.
Yeah,
But you see how this is yellowish brown?
Oh, she's
That's the
Yeah.
unfinished.
Oh my God, stunning.
Yes, she is.
Picture
So
worth a
that
million.
is a 5.5 year pina, and you see the size difference and yellowish brown. I don't know if the color is coming through. So what you'll see is literally the 3.5 year old pinas. Pina. By the way, you take the agave plant out, and after you cut it, you're left with a pina, basically pineapple. Pina is the heart of. So it's in the ground. You pull it out, you cut it manually, and you're left with these balls, which are called pinas. So each of these is a pina.
I
Okay.
see.
Then you cut it in half, then you put it in these big ovens where it's steamed under pressure for about 24 to 36 hours. So I'm going to stop there. So first part is the ingredient. So we choose the best ingredient, right? Then, like our master tequila maker says, that you have two cooks, right? They make the exact same dish, exact same ingredients, exact same recipe. How is it that one cook makes such an amazing job and one cook just fucks it up, right? And the reason is you start with the right ingredient and then you have to take care every part of the process. And the other person might cut the sabji all up and put it all in the pan at the same time without heating at the oil at the right temperature or the right salt and pepper or the using the wrong garam masalas, whatever it is. So that's how you end up with the same recipe with two different products. So we are using, it's just like when you eat the tender, the Wagyu steak, you just heat it up a
Yeah.
little bit and it's ready to go. You don't need to butcher it. So when you're starting with something that's so wonderful, that's perfectly ready to go, you don't need to over steam it. It doesn't get all the bad juju. It all doesn't get all the tannins. It doesn't. So what you're getting is the aroma of the cooked agave. You're getting the pepper notes. You're getting the caramelized, because when you cook the agave, just like you have caramelized onions, the agave cooks and adds the caramel naturally. Whereas the other people are using a bad ingredient, and when they get the tequila out, they bottle it immediately within a couple hours. They don't let it sit. They don't let the head and tail separate out. And what you get as soon as you open the bottle is this incredibly strong
Acidic.
backlash, acidic backlash, and then it burns down, and then your head spins, and then you're like, "Ooh, that's so much fun." So that's the major difference, is that once our ingredient is better, our process is better. I leave it at that.
Okay.
So it's very delicious. It's additive free. It's pure. That's our mission statement: purity, passion, purpose. So we want to make delicious tequila through purity, not by additives. So the government of Mexico allowed up to 1% of, just call it, added flavors. And the intent was very good, because if you imagine in the 60s and 70s, when these guys were trying to compete with whiskey, which is what the rest of the world was drinking, they're like, okay, you can add a little bit of color to make it look a little bit more like whiskey. And you can add, instead of aging it, 15, 16 years, you can play around with a little bit to get to the desired result. What happened in the last 10 years, I'm going to call the celebrity focused years of tequila, and the demand grew so fast, and the people who owned their farms started cutting their agave younger and younger, that the industry started bastardizing this original notion, which is to use the additives not as an enhancement, just to fix the color a little bit, because separate batches might have separate colors. They're like, let's just take young tequila that tastes like shit, young, and just add it with vanilla, concentrated vanilla, just like your mom makes cake.
Yeah.
Concentrated vanilla, concentrate caramel, color, oak chips for the oaky flavor, glycerine to add the mouthfeel, and Splenda for sweetness. Yeah. So
Ouch.
85% of tequila and 100% of tequila in India is additive.
That.
Wow. Okay, that's like, what are we? Okay, so it's
Yeah.
only going to be El Cristiano from now onwards.
Seriously, outside of El Cristiano, anything else that's drinkable, which is accessible to people like us in Singapore.
No, I don't think so.
No,
Unless
is
you're
there
drinking
any other brand, like you look at
tequila.
competition?
Yeah, of course. There's El
Yeah.
Tesoro, there's Lalo, there's uh, Tequila Ocho, Fortaleza, just on the top of my head, G4. There's about 15, 20 good big brands doing it, but
Good
I don't think any of them made it to India. In fact, the biggest brands from Don Julio, which is from Diageo, which owns Don Julio and Casamigos, has 4 or 5 class action lawsuits against it in the US today. not only for additives, but even for adding cane sugar. So not just the additives, they're actually adding in industrial sugar. Only up to 50, 60, 70% is up to cane sugar because and these are going down.
Uh, it's being sold as the most healthy drink. It's the sold
That
as
is
the
true. That
healthiest
part
drink.
is true if it's pure.
If they're adding sugar, for example, this Casa Amigas, by the way, it gives me the worst headache ever.
Correct,
Whenever
because it has up to 70% cane sugar. You're basically paying for rum.
You're having rum instead of tequila.
I shock.
I shock.
Actually, Casamigos was a very good tequila before, they were bought out by Diageo. And I believe they changed the recipe. They got very successful and they just changed the recipe to higher sugar and higher added sugars and less real agave, basically.
So higher profit, basically.
So,
just
yeah, so 2014, if you want an exact year, I'm going to call it 2015. How about that? That's when tequila started getting out of Southern California into. But I'll be honest with you, I go to New York and people still don't know much about tequila. There's a town called Tequila that it comes from Mexico. It has to be made in Mexico. The knowledge factor is very low, which is also one of the reasons I got into this business. As much as I know about alcohol, I thought I could bring some education in the sector.
But tell us, during all this, through all this, when did tequila actually grow up? Like, when did it turn into a drink that was, let's do shots to actually, I'll have a sip of tequila through the evening. When did it get this whole re-image?
So Southern California, it's a good question to ask me because we are the epicenter of the tequila revolution here in San Diego and LA. Even though Mexico creates it, Mexico has its own brands, right? I mean, they drink their own tequila, and none of the brands that are sold worldwide are actually sold in Mexico. So you can't find El Cristiano, you won't find Tequila Ocho, you won't find Fortaleza. They mostly you won't find any Patron, for example, in Mexico. So the graduation has started from here. I think I do want to say Casamigos has a lot to do with it. I mean, getting those celebrities, which was their brand. They were invested in it. It was their cash. It was their brand. It's very different from other celebrity brands where they're slapping on a name. I think that's something very important to distinguish between celebrity-owned tequilas and say celebrities that say it's their tequila. So, for example, Teremana and Casamigos, it's their money, it's their investments. They are working day and night. They're out in the field. I know that George Clooney himself went to all these restaurants in LA to pitch his tequila, and that's how it got so big so fast. It wasn't an influencer-driven marketing strategy at all. And I think a lot of the people who came after thought, oh, I have influence. And something I know from my side that before I got into this industry, I never actually put in www.domprignon.com. Like, I'm sure as much as you all love your spirits, you've never actually Googled an alcohol brand. You've never actually gone to their website. You probably don't even follow any of their Instagrams. So alcohol, unlike beauty products and apparel, is you don't see an ad and you say, oh, I want to go drink, Bacardi. No, it's your friends take you, they sit you down and say, let's do a Kahlua shot or let's do a Jaeger shot. And they're like, ooh, this is great. Or a Macallan 18. Dude, have you tried Balvenie 21? Have you tried this double barrel 14-year-old that I just brought? That's how you get into good alcohol or bad alcohol or whatever the trend is. Your friends, you sit down, it's a social moment. And I don't think any of us, drinking.
Take out our phones.
Yeah, exactly.
And doing research at that.
So I completely pursued the different strategy. Like, we are on Instagram because it's, you have to have a presence these days. It's like a evil that you need. But I don't think my Instagram sells a single bottle. And that's why our Instagram is more about lifestyle, whereas almost all the other products are, I am already on your Instagram page. I don't need to see a bottle or a drink that you made again and again and again. It's also with these bigger brands. You go to like my favorite watch company, let's say Patek or Rolex. You go to their Instagram page. They're just taking their media and they've put it on their social media. I want to see what a guy who wears Rolex does on a day-to-day basis. I don't want to see another picture of your watch. I already know what your watches look like, right? So I don't think these larger companies and these alcohol companies have gotten what the consumer is looking for. We want social. We want interactive. I want to see what El Cristiano drinkers look like. We're
An
in the party.
experience.
Yeah, the experience,
Yeah.
that's why we called it El Cristiano life. Like, are you, on a yacht today? Are you in England today? Are you talking to these beautiful girls on a podcast in a studio today? Which I wasn't even ready for.
So, what are some of the challenges? Okay, this is all great for theory and to understand all the different parts of it, and you've been able to take a passion project and make it into a successful business venture. You continue to do so, obviously fueled by the passion that you have for it. But what are some of the big challenges you faced in this journey so far?
It's a lot of challenges. Imagine when you make the tequila, it's governed by the city and the state of Jalisco and the country of Mexico. Then it has to be imported into the USA by a company. I don't even do it because I can make a mistake and the whole company gets shut down. It's not my industry, right? So we've hired someone to professionally import it, keep it in their warehouse in San Francisco in a bonded video surveillance, and then it's shipped. If I can't even from that warehouse, for let's say you were visiting, I cannot even sell you a single bottle. That would be jail time for me.
Really?
Yeah, I can't even sell it to a restaurant. I can't even sell it online. Any bottle of alcohol. I, as a supplier, we are called suppliers, not manufacturers for some reason. So, as a supplier, I cannot even sell a single bottle online. So I cannot sell directly to a consumer or even to a store. I have to sell it only to a distributor, and only the distributor can then sell it to a retailer who can then sell it to you. So
Why is that? Why, I mean, just to control the
yeah,
system
it's
a little bit?
an extra cut that was basically started by the American mafia back in the day to get a control, and that became the distributor system. So and they won't even sell on my behalf. I have to go sell restaurant to restaurant, and then they
It has to go
deliver.
through
So
them.
you have to make the deal.
I sell, and then the order goes to them, and then they collect the money, and then they pay the importer, and the importer pays me.
Wow.
30% cut at every level. So my $26, a bottle you're paying $50 for, I'm only getting 26 for.
So the rest goes, of course.
In the system, and that's a good job to have.
On top, you're paying sales tax. Yeah, that's a good job to have. And then on top, you're probably paying sales tax, so you're paying $55.
Yeah.
And in India, it's the same, exact same. When we first exported to India, the country charges import duty, and then as it goes into the different states, each state has its own excise duty. So it's the same bottle of silver that sells at Punjab stores, let's say, for 6,500 rupees, sells for 10,000 in Bombay, because Maharashtra and Punjab have different
Have
excise.
their own different. Yeah.
Okay, tell me one thing, and this is a hypothetical question, now changing the tone and vein a bit. But if tequila were a movie character or a person in history, if you had to personify tequila, who do you think it would be? And in a broader category, would it be the rebel, the poet, or the philosopher, or the party animal? Sure.
It's Amitabh Bachchan, the angry young man.
Oh
You just
And it's here to stay. And it's here to stay. Let me tell you, a lot of people are thinking like gin came and went, tequila is not going anywhere. It's going to become the global default alcohol of choice by a very large margin. By a very large margin.
And why do you say that? There's a lot of conviction in that. Where is that coming from?
Well, so one is my personal gut, but also I'm at the forefront. Like I said, I'm literally seeing where the trends are going in here in LA and from Mexico, and I travel the world, so I know where the world is going. And if you think about it, the reason is if we are not even saturated properly as the drink of choice here in California. So all that has yet to happen in the rest of the world, even though it's going to happen faster. Second, none of the younger generation, I'm talking about, let's say Indians that I've seen personally in their 20s and 30s, want to drink their dad's drink, right, which is whiskey. So that's gone. I'm just giving you some points of information. I met with the general manager of the Leela. So if you go to the Leela Palace bar, our tequila will be the most preferred tequila. And he said in just the last 12 months, the split has gone between 1% tequila, 29% vodka, and 70% whiskey to 30% tequila, 0 bottles of vodka sold, and 70% whiskey. 0. So vodka and gin are off the map and are going to continue to be. And the other thing is that, consumption of vodka or tequila is higher because you do, even with good tequila, you're still drinking it in shots. You're still finishing bottles.
Yeah.
Like, you buy a bottle of gin and you have a great afternoon and you have this much left over and it stays on your bar for a year. You're not
The
going through
next
for the
afternoon.
next gin party. You're
Yeah.
not going through bottles and bottles of tequila. And that's another reason why I love the tequila industry. It's like you finish the bottle. You're not keeping it for another day. Even a good blue label, you want to keep it. Okay, you want to save it,
Yeah.
or a good Macallan, you
Yeah.
want to save it. Tequila, you want to finish. It's not a,
Yeah.
and the younger generation, A, they don't want to drink their parents drink. B, they want to spend money, right? So a silver tequila, this bottle exactly here is 6,500 rupees in India, in Chandigarh and Gurgaon. And a bottle of black label is 2,200 rupees. Okay, so 3 times the price. They want to show that they're spending money, which is great, right? So, which is why Classy Azul got so big, because every time that big bottle comes out, I call it like the Dom Perignon effect. I call it the blue label effect. When you get a bottle in a nightclub of a Dom, you know what you're getting, your guests know what you're getting, and everybody in the nightclub knows what you're getting. But if you got a slightly more expensive Krug, which every sommelier prefers, nobody in the club knows what you got. It's a total waste of money.
Bit of a show off,
Yeah.
fun.
You don't get the bragging rights.
No, they wouldn't know. They thought you get the cheaper bottle. If you didn't get a Dom and you got a Krug, which is twice as expensive, they probably think you're getting a cheaper bottle
Right.
that you skimped out, right? So that's why Clase Azul got so big. It wasn't that big of tequila. You could buy it at Costco for $80. They were selling it by the truckload, and then suddenly COVID hit and Casamigos hit, and now it's the tequila of choice.
Speaking by and large, and I'm totally generalizing here, but alcohol is getting a bit of a bad name
Yeah.
generally. Like in our generation or our parents, it was given like 2 drinks a day, and my parents have had every single night for God knows how many years. Because even what we heard growing up, right, wine is good for you, even if you have a glass or two of wine
Right.
a night. Whatever. Now the narrative around that is also changing. Especially the younger generation, at least in Singapore, from what we see, prefer not to drink.
As an industry, alcohol drinking is seeing a bad, and we're calling it actually the Californication of alcohol, which is people are moving to other substances that are not considered harmful, that are actually considered good. And, so weed, for example, is considered better than alcohol in some cases. That those kids are drinking less or not at all. And then the CEO of Suntory came out and said that another reason is the Netflix era, which is, people are staying home and binge watching shows. And so what that does is, instead of having a proper, let's say, Macallan on the rocks, you're having a seltzer, right? If you're with your girlfriend, even if you're somewhat rich, let's say, to afford something,
Right.
you're not going to open, if you're with your girlfriend watching Netflix, you're not going to have a scotch at home. You're most likely going to have a beer or seltzer or one of these ready to drinks, right? So that's one aspect. Because when you go out, it's just like food. When you order food at home, you're getting exactly what you want. You're getting green curry. When you go out, you're getting the 2 appetizers, you're getting the green curry, and the pad thai, and the dessert, and the 2 bottles of wine, and everything, right? So it kind of changes how your thinking is when you're at home in your pajamas. So that's one thinking, and the other is the younger generation does think that alcohol is bad. It does create a certain amount of fun that comes with aggravation also. I think some people can get aggravated. All that said, tequila is the growing market inside those. And in the last 18 months, pure additive-free tequila is the fastest growing trend inside tequila. So now that for example, what I told you, you'll think 3 or 4 times before drinking that next.
Absolutely.
I'm not touching their Casamigos. Slap me
Yeah,
for it.
exactly. And it makes me throw up. It makes me want to throw up because it literally is like NyQuil and you get a headache.
Worst headache ever.
And we're
Okay,
similarly
let-
priced to Patron, so it's not even
Yeah.
going more for it.
That's
But
not even such a crazy hefty price point that's in any way
Yeah.
deterred.
It's free now, available totally in India, and I mean you've got your distribution in place in India. Just out of curiosity.
it's been just over a year. It's available in 7 states only. Also, every I can touch on that also a little bit. Every city, let's say, needs its own activation strategy. So let's say Singapore is a great example. Sure, we can go through the trouble. We can get an importer. He can distribute it, and we get it into 10 bars and two let's say retail shops. But how am I going to activate the population to go and ask for it?
Yeah, correct.
That's the $1 million question. It's not
Yeah,
getting it up there; it's getting it
yeah,
off of there. So,
yeah.
we're not, for example, Bangalore is a very lucrative market, but I don't know anybody from Bangalore. But how do I get people in Bangalore to buy it? So it's an exercise in futility. Same thing, for example, New York City for me. I sell it in New York, but I don't even spend $1 marketing it or activating it because it's way too expensive to grab the attention of everyone when so much is going on in New York. But Delhi, Chandigarh, Punjab, Jammu Kashmir, Gurgaon, Bombay, we are in these cities and it's blowing.
Goa? Goa?
Goa, we're in Goa.
What's the story with?
Tequila can only come from one plant, blue agave. Is
Yeah,
that
at least 51% of it has to be blue agave. It then can't say 100% puro de agave, but it can say tequila. 49% can be something else. Those are called mixtos.
okay?
So
And your brand?
the Jose Cuervo Gold, for example, if you remember that,
Yeah.
that was a mixto. It can be called tequila, but not 100%.
Agave flowers just once in its lifetime and then it dies.
That is correct.
Wow.
It doesn't flower as much as it continues to grow until you harvest it. So some agave plants can actually grow as big as three of us or five of us, that big. And some agaves take 28 to 30 years to mature. Some agaves, but I think the bare minimum is about 5.5 years.
And that in 5 years would get it to what size? Ballpark.
A proper blue Weber agave, the pina becomes about 45 kilos, so as much as you guys. Yeah, about 100 pounds, 110 pounds. We have harvested pinas as big as 85 kilograms, 200 pounds.
It's insane. So these fields must be massive.
Oh yeah, when you're driving down the way to Tequila and you look out and you see the whole mountain is blue because they're blue. The leaves are blue. That's why it's blue Weber. It's beautiful.
Oh, that sounds very pretty.
How beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
very,
Yeah.
very, very beautiful.
There are some producers that still crush agave with a 2-ton volcanic stone called
Tajones.
what?
Yes.
What is that process?
So the tajone is so
Tajone.
when you steam this, you cut it in pieces and then you steam it. The juice is still inside the fiber. So then you throw it into this well, and in the old day there was a bull that would go around, and this stone would roll over the plant, and the juice would then come out. These days we use, it's the same process, but it's more industrialized. But yes, the tajones is the original way of doing it.
Tequila can legally include additives like caramel or glycerin.
Correct, up to 1% of volume.
And then there's a Cristalino tequila. What is Cristalino tequila? Now that's a new thing.
Yes, so Cristalino is aged tequila that is then carbon filtered to remove the color, some extra flavors. So it becomes more of a white tequila. So, for example, Casa Dragones Joven, the $300 bottle, is a Cristalino. So it's aged tequila, but then they've made it white. For some palates, I'm not a big fan. I love Casa Dragones, don't get me wrong. But I'm not a really big fan. That's why we don't make Cristalino. I feel like if you're making something, then you should have it in its full spirit.
Tequila outsold American whiskey in the US last year. I mean, did that really happen?
Outsold American whiskey in America is probably true. Yeah, I don't know the exact answer. Yeah,
That actually sums up exactly what you've said so far. That
Yeah.
it's rapidly rising, and the younger generation does not want
Yeah.
to have their parents drink. Which
Yeah.
is why
Yeah, it's
mean,
become
the-
like the
the
hip and cool
economics.
drink. Also, tell us on that note, what's the most expensive tequila out there? Like, or
So
you've had?
we make a version. This looks like a
There
cognac.
you go.
This is an 8-year-old aged extra añejo, so
Okay.
different from our regular bottle.
Oh,
This
look
is
at the color
11.
difference.
Yeah, this is $1,100. It's aged 8 years. The most expensive Clase Azul makes an Ultra that sells for $2,000.
Okay.
Those are the
Okay.
most expensive ones. I do want to touch on one thing before we go on, is why is tequila considered a good for you over other alcohols? I think you
Please
must have.
tell us. Yeah.
So, as in all things, there's a factor of bioavailability, right? So, for example, turmeric is a very good example. People in America, they just take the turmeric powder thinking they're going to get the benefits of turmeric, but unless it's cooked in ghee or oil, you don't get the bioavailability, right?
Right.
So just like that, the drinks that we consume have sugar in them, and the sugar is dependent on the source. That's why you have the beer belly, for example, because you're getting the sweetness, the sugars in a beer from wheat, just like eating parathas and wheat and bread. And when you're drinking wine, you're getting the sugars from red wine, and that's why if they have sulfites, you're going to get the allergies to sulfites, right? So we are trained to identify good and bad calories. So, 200 calories from toast, bad, 200 calories from eggs, good, 200 calories from fish, very good, red meat, not so good. That's been trained to us. But it's the exact same for alcohol. So a silver tequila, 1 ounce is 70 calories, and 1 ounce of vodka is 70 calories. These are the leanest calories in alcohol. But the 70 calories from vodka are 100% bioavailable to our blood. So all 70 calories are going in our blood, and they're coming from corn or wheat, which is just basic sugar, right? When you're having tequila, it's only 50%, or actually only 40% bioavailable to our blood. So the glycemic index is low, and so you're only absorbing 40% sugar, and you're pissing out 60% of the sugars from there. And the quality of the sugar is extremely good. It's high, complex carbs versus simple carbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. This is
Kinda like that.
complex. Vodka is very, very simple. Basic wheat, Mehta style. Okay. So what happens is the reason you get a hangover is because when you have too much alcohol, you're consuming large amounts of sugar in a 2-3 hour period, and when the body withdraws, it creates the headaches. And so when you're having pure tequila, not your margaritas, because they have much more added into it. But
With
when
the
you have
heat.
pure or clean thick, if you have clean margaritas, which are the skinny ones, which is just lime and a little bit of agave juice and a little bit of tequila, those are great. But the premixes can add a lot of sugar to it. You don't know what you're getting when you go to a bar. So if you have clean silver tequila, you're getting the purest form with the purest intake into our body of complex sugars, and that's why tequila is considered better than whiskey, which is also grain alcohol, vodka,
Yeah.
gin, and of course, wine has its own amazing properties. I feel that's God's own juice, so
Yeah.
I have no
Drops
problem.
of God.
I have no problem with wine or whiskey, by the way. I have a whole cabinet behind me full of all the
Yeah.
whiskeys in the world. So
I'm a big whiskey drinker, but I
I'm a
think
very
I'm going
big
to have to switch, to tequila a little bit. A little
Yes,
bit.
well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
well.
if you get good
Okay.
tequila, then absolutely yes.
We've spoken about the merits of tequila. We've spoken about why it's become so big, right? In terms of it's clean and all the stuff that you listed out. Now let's talk about the visuals of it. What went into the branding exercise for El Cristiano, and what were the aspects that were crucial to be taken into account?
So I think looking back at it, a lot of it, the design comes from my travels, my personal travels. I think the bottle itself has a lot of French and British elements to it. For example, the base, the raised base, it could be a very beautiful cognac bottle. I think the gold is also inspired from the French, even styles. I see it literally has come a lot from my whiskey and cognac connection and traveling to France quite a bit for wine and for fashion. Priyanka is very big in the fashion world, as you know. So we've been, treated by Bulgari and Chanel and all the big houses, Germany. And so we go there. And I've been to Dom Perignon. I've been drinking with all of them, Krug, Mr. Rothschild at their winery. So, and, Antinori in Italy. So I've done all of that. And I think when I sat down with a designer, actually at this bar where I'm sitting right now, and I have all the wine and the stash all available
Oh,
right
look
here.
at that.
And
Yeah.
it's available right here. So I was just bringing out bottles of what I liked and what I didn't like. And I did want to get away from putting an agave on the label. I thought that, we've grown up as an industry where we don't need to show the agave again and again on the bottle. That if you say it's tequila, people know that it's from an agave. I think that was one of the reasons why the old guard, if you will, had all the, a more organic kind of label and ours and the newer ones are more global.
Sophisticated.
Yeah, modern.
We discussed, which is the most expensive tequila, etc. But what decides the price factor?
Yeah.
Why does one bottle cost $40, and one cost 400,000, 2,000, or whatever? Like, what is it? Just the additives, or is there more? You tell us.
Now, at the base level, what you have to realize why alcohol gets expensive as time goes on is because you lose about 7% of alcohol every year to what's known as the angel's share. So when you take a silver tequila or you take whiskey and you put it in these wooden barrels, you're losing because they're not in steel casks, they're in breathing wooden barrels. So 7 to 8% or 9% a year just goes away, evaporates. So that means that if you start now, in 12 years, you're going to be left with less than half the juice you started with. So that is one factor. The second factor is exclusivity. The third is pure marketing. Like, it doesn't cost that much more to age it actually for 8 years than it does for 3 years. But for example, this actual bottle is $15 and this bottle is $2.50.
Right. So
And
everything adds up.
the packaging, the box it comes in is $35. So the packaging is more expensive. That's why I didn't add a box to my bottle. Because for global warming, would you ever store a box?
Never.
Or bring home? So even if it's
You
a nice
don't have a
box.
box. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Just straight out. Yeah. Even the
Bottle's beautiful. No, this
Yeah.
one does. This one has a box. This one has a
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's
But most of
$1,100. I need to sell it.
right.
But
Right.
for a carbon footprint standpoint, it's such a beautiful bottle. Then
Yeah.
I'm going to have to create a more beautiful box. And instead of paying $135, you would have to pay $185.
Wow.
Because I added a box, which you're going to $50 more just for the box.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
joking.
yeah.
Because it cost me $15 for the box. And then that guy charges 30%. And
Yeah.
that guy charges 30%. So you're paying
Right.
$50 for a box that you're going to throw away.
Yeah. And we literally never, unless it's like,
Unless you're
what-
gifting it, and which is
Yeah.
why the premium one comes in.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, you wouldn't even think of gifting your box a bottle of tequila.
Yeah.
But now you'll happily, if you're working.
So the way I say it, you can gift my bottle like this. You walk into a party and say, "Here's your bottle, bro."
What's your favorite tequila?
It changes in my El Cristiano. So when we first launched, it was this one. Then the silver came out. Then we started drinking the silver very much. Then we have something called the Extra Reposado, which is double barrel. So this is, sorry, not this. This is an XR. And this is 11 and a half months. So still below the Añejo, but this is half in French Bordeaux casks and half in Tennessee barrels. So it's you get the luxuriousness of the French wine, and you still can access the cooked agave of the tequila.
Okay.
It's tequila, but it's very, very rich. So then it was this, and now we just introduced our mezcal, so loving that. I drink El Cristiano, but I also drink Herradura. I also drink Reserva de la Familia from Jose Cuervo. These are some of my favorites that I drink otherwise.
What for you has been the biggest shock moment or surprise about tequila? What is one fact or one thing?
This recent revelation that some of these tequilas are actually adding industrial cane sugar is very, very surprising because it's almost evil. It's false marketing. It's bad. These companies are so big. Diageo is the world's largest alcohol company. Why do they need to cheat out the consumer is beyond me. I think that's just bad. Up until additives, that I learned even more after I got in the industry. But I kind of knew it existed, and I kind of knew what it was, and I kind of knew what people were doing with it, and I knew they're going to phase out. Like, I was never disturbed when 818 came on. The 818 is one of those accused, by the way, of adding cane sugar. And okay, they're going to expose the market to tequila. It's good for me. They're going to create more tequila drinkers, and then I'll be waiting there with a pure tequila when they grow up and they want to learn, right? Because I don't have the marketing expense to convert people to tequila. I'd rather Don Julio do that and Patron do that and let them do all that work. Let them spend millions and millions and billions of dollars converting the whole world to drinking tequila, and then I'll be right there. You try my tequila and you'll be like, "What? This is amazing."
This is so good.
Clever, you're such a clever guy. Boy.
Right. But this adding sugar cane is that's really shocking to me.
So tell us, if I never drank tequila, I walk into a store, what are the 3 things I should look out for when buying a bottle of tequila? What?
So this is a very good question. So I'm going to first address what you should be drinking. Is it silver or extra neho?
Yes.
To start there. Okay.
To start with.
To start with. So extra neho, I like to say, so see in whiskey, quality does change with age. Okay. So 18 years is generally better than 12 years. In tequila, it's not age, it's time of day, I like to call it. So if you're on a hot day by a swimming pool, it's muggy, you're not going to enjoy a extra añejo with on the rocks. You know, you want a silver on a lot of rocks, shaken and cold, and maybe a little bit of a margarita, and a clean margarita, and you want, or a paloma, which is with grapefruit juice, and you can have a bunch of that, and you're going to have 3 or 4 of those. And the same applies if you're in the cold wintry night and by the fireplace and you're enjoying a drink with some friends, and then you want an extra añejo which warms you up and has all the caramely Christmassy flavors.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you have to think about it. What am I in the mood for? So if you're giving a gift, you're most likely going with an añejo or extra añejo. If you're drinking for yourself and you like the tequila taste, which I guarantee you will after you drink El Cristiano, then you would want the younger expressions,
The lighter.
the lighter
Okay.
expressions. And if you're really going for, watching how much sugar you're putting in, then you're definitely going with the lighter colors like silver and rosado. As far as brands go, you almost have to do some research nowadays. There's
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of brands out there. I think Asia has very limited number of brands. I mean, very few. I get more. So
Yeah.
I would pick up Patron Reposado, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's a little bit harsh, but it's pure. There's nothing wrong with it. I wouldn't drink Don Julio or 1942. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't touch.
1880 also you wouldn't touch.
No, 818. No,
What about 1942?
I would
Musa?
never touch that. That's Don Julio. That's probably the worst.
Yeah.
Drinking maybe more for intention than indulgence. Does that resonate anywhere?
So our purpose is different. Our purpose is actually to give back to the communities of Mexico, Jalisco, where the tequila is made. On our website, we have Foundation El Cristiano, the list of things that we do, and that's the purpose. So purity is making delicious tequila through purity, not through additives. Passion, you can tell, and purpose is to give back.
Fantastic.
I love
Brilliant.
it. I love it. You
Wow.
summed it up so beautifully. I think
Yeah.
that just one last thing: the farmers
Yeah.
who plant the agave and they nurture it and take care of it. They're called the Himadores. Is that what it's called?
The people who cut the agave, that's the humidor. So it's a very specific and focused task. It's a tool called the CAO, CAO. It's very heavy. You can cut your foot. If you just drop it on your foot, all your toes are gone, guaranteed.
So you have to be so careful.
Extremely
It must be
careful.
massive.
It's just a stick with a flat plate at the end.
Acha.
So yeah, cuts through this agave, and you have to. All of this is done manually, which is why tequila is expensive. Because it has to be grown over in the specific. So it has to be grown kind of like grapes, where it has to be grown in the specific region, right? You can't grow blue agave in California and make good tequila out of it. It won't happen. It has to be there. Just like Cabernet Sauvignon has to come from Bordeaux, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And so it's very specific to the region. It's very manual labor. You have to pull it out by hand. You have to cut it by hand. You have to load it into the truck by hand. I'll send Mandira a video of these guys literally picking up 50 kilograms of this each and tossing them like paper, like, I don't know, like potato chips.
Yeah.
Then they take to the distillery and then they're brought out, they're cut in half or multiple pieces, then loaded again by hand. Then the tank is emptied by hand. All manual labor, 100% manual labor.
Wow. I mean, for something that big now, tequila, like the whole world is having it, you would think that they would be now so mechanized and rich, So it's great that there is a gift.
And the farmers are decently okay, better than our Indian farmers, I would say.
Right.
But
Yes.
the basic workers, that's their life. The humidors are so the guy who to answer your question, cuts that agave to make it into a piña, that's a humidor. El humidor.
It's like such a champion right now. I like quiz me. I tell you, Shweta, I get 100.
A good tequila is like a good whiskey and a good cognac. Honestly, you don't need anything more to entice you other than
No worm.
no worm, no snake. But I will say body shots are great. And if you go to Mexico, it's a lot of fun. Even I'm telling you, tequila in Mexico tastes 10 times better than tequila anywhere else in the world. It's just like drinking French wine in France and Italian wine in Italy. It is such a fun experience. And somehow I think they're bottling up a different recipe for themselves and then just shipping the shit out to the world. I don't know why I feel
I'm
that.
laughing at the entire world is
Yeah.
going cuckoo over tequila.
I'm telling you, I went to this year, April, I took 120 people to Jalisco, to Arandas, and we visited. So one day we go to my distillery, which is Saturday, and then Sunday we go to the town of Tequila. And Sunday has nothing to do with El Cristiano. I want people to immerse themselves in the Mexican culture, you
Yeah.
know, more about tequila, more about these questions that you have. So no business, nothing, just have fun. And this distillery we were at, it's a heritage distillery, Casa Sausa from 1901 or something. And they actually make a tequila called, I forget the name, let's call it El Jimador, okay? And we've tried it here in the US and it tastes like garbage. And it was perfectly fine there. I was having it like shots, I had 20 shots, maybe more. Yeah, half the bottle.
Send us a picture of that.
I will send you. So I can do one of these where I take a bottle from the back. It's called El Scorpion, and it goes straight in my mouth. And I drink it many times over a course of a night.
Yeah.
When I'm in that mode. Yes.
In that zone.
That's,
Oh, I love it, Karan. It's too much fun. You were to exit from El Cristiano.
Yeah.
I think tequila may be the end because you know it's very exciting for me personally. It's truly a passion of mine. Truly. That's I'm not joking when I say I've actually had probably millions of dollars worth of alcohol personally in consumed, and I'm not saying that in vain. That you know all the biggest wine in America I can call them my friends. And I've had all those Michelin dinners. It's truly a passion. I was the original foodie before the Instagram foodie came.
What is the
Amazing.
perfect food to pair with tequila?
Interesting.
So I'll go back to how I describe, you know, through the day. So if you're anything Indian food would be great with our silver on the rocks with an orange in it because this, you know, the acidity cuts through all the heaviness of the Indian food. And then for you know the 3-year extra Neho and everything else, you know, I love Gouda, any kind of cheese, just like you would pair it with cheese with wine. I would pair it with aged Gouda or aged cheddar, many of those cheeses and nuts, you know, or even chakna. Any kind of chaat and papdi, it goes with everything. But
Lovely.
in the Western world, you can pair it with pretty much anything as you would with a whiskey, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible, Karan. And at what point did Lady Luck, as in my friend Priyanka, come into your life?
Yes, Lady Luck hit right in the beginning, actually. I met Priyanka in Chicago in the summer of 2000. And she had come to visit her Masi. And I was in Oregon at the time, working on a very large government software for the state of Oregon. And I visited Chicago with my grandparents had come, Nana Nani had come to see my parents, and she was visiting her Masi and my Masi are married to 2 brothers. They came to say hi. I looked up, I said hello. I mean, she was strikingly beautiful. So I was a little bit shy. And my dad's like, what are you guys hanging out? Her cousins were with her, who I knew well. And we went to downtown Chicago for a night on the town, and we were married.
That was it?
Was that tequila?
Less than a year later, yeah. Met in August of 2000. We were married in April 2001, and we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary this coming April.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's absolutely
He's been
stunning.
on my side from pretty much day one, yeah.
Yeah, she's an incredible girl, and both of you are actually very, very obviously good for each other.
Perfect.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
For
All right, very nice seeing you finally putting it.
decode and demystify this world of tequila. Really, it's been most insightful and very, very educational. And you know, purity, passion, and purpose. I love the way you describe all 3 pillars of what should be everybody's life. You know, to be able to describe that, and you've got it bang on, and you've got it sorted out. So all the very best to you, and thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you. Look forward to having some tequila with you.
So like champagne, which only comes from the region Champagne, tequila can only be from the region Tequila. I did not know that. I just thought tequila was grown all over Mexico. Tequila was sold more than American whiskey last year in America.
And for me, the big takeaway was that these really well-known brands that we all have been drinking, thinking it's the most premium and exotic tequila, such as Casamigos, is actually full of so many additives. There's so much sugar, it's cane sugar. Like, that's one thing I really am shocked about, because tequila has always been the skinniest drink.
Yeah.
If there's cane sugar in the bottle, that's really a rip.